There are conquerors who write history in blood, but only a few leave a legacy built on wisdom, justice, and honor. In the year 1187, one of the holiest cities in the world, Jerusalem, stood at a pivotal moment in history. The Crusaders had ruled it for nearly a century, but now, a man stood at its gates, a man whose name would be remembered forever, Saladin. A sultan, a warrior, but above all, a man of honor. This is the story of how Saladin conquered Jerusalem, not through destruction, but through military brilliance, wisdom, and mercy. Saladin, born in 1137 in Tikrit, grew up in an era when the Muslim world was divided. The Crusaders had seized large parts of the Middle East, and internal conflicts weakened the Islamic Empire. But Saladin was different from other rulers of his time. He was not just a warrior, but also a scholar. He studied philosophy, theology, and strategy, and his thinking was deeply shaped by the principles of Islam. A ruler's strength does not lie in his sword alone, but in his justice. Saladin's goal was not just to conquer territories, but to restore order, justice, and unity. When he finally rose to power as the Sultan of Egypt and Syria, he knew that his greatest challenge lay ahead: Jerusalem, a city sacred to Muslims, Christians, and Jews alike. How do you conquer a city protected by high walls and experienced Crusader warriors? Saladin knew that a direct assault on Jerusalem was too risky. So, instead of brute force, he used strategy. First, he cut off the city's supply routes. Jerusalem relied on outside resources. Without reinforcements, the defenders grew weaker. Then, he launched precise attacks. On September 20th, 1187, the siege began. Instead of scattering his forces, Saladin focused on the city's weakest defenses. He avoided unnecessary destruction. Saladin understood that a ruler does not win by conquest alone. True leadership comes through wisdom. He avoided reckless assaults, ensuring the safety of both his men and the civilians inside the city. Within days, the Crusaders' resistance collapsed. But what happened next is what truly set Saladin apart from other conquerors. After 88 years of Christian rule, Jerusalem was once again in Muslim hands. Many expected revenge, to avenge the massacre that the Crusaders had inflicted on Muslim and Jewish inhabitants in 1099. But Saladin acted according to Islamic law and principles. A conqueror should not rule by the sword alone, but by justice. He recognized the city's sanctity for all faiths. No plundering, looting, and random violence were forbidden. Places of worship remained untouched. Mosques, churches, and synagogues were protected. Safe passage was granted. Saladin allowed residents to leave freely instead of forcing them into slavery or execution. Even Queen Sibylla of Jerusalem was allowed to leave unharmed with her royal court. Even Richard the Lionheart, his greatest enemy, later acknowledged Saladin's nobility and honor. This act made Saladin one of the most respected conquerors in history. Saladin teaches us that true strength lies not in war, but in wisdom. His rule teaches us three timeless principles. Strategy is more powerful than brute force. Careful planning is often more effective than reckless aggression. Justice is the foundation of true greatness. A ruler is not defined by conquest, but by his actions afterward. Mercy is a sign of real strength. Saladin had the power to destroy, but instead, he chose peace. To this day, he remains a symbol of honor and justice, a leader who upheld humanity in a brutal era. Saladin was more than a conqueror. He was a man who lived by principles that extend beyond his time. In a world where power is often mistaken for cruelty, he showed that true strength does not lie in violence, but in justice. His actions were not random. They were deeply rooted in the teachings of Islam, which encouraged him to practice respect, balance, and generosity as the highest virtues. Where others saw war, and conflict as a chance for revenge, Saladin saw it as his duty to choose compassion over retaliation, wisdom over rage, and justice over oppression. He could have taken Jerusalem by fire and blood, but instead, he chose reconciliation. Why? Because Islam taught him to show humility, even in victory. These lessons are not just for leaders. They apply to all of us, in how we treat others, in how we respond to challenges, in how we make choices every day. Today, we live in a world filled with division, misunderstandings, and conflict. But Saladin's example shows us another way. Honor is not about humiliating the enemy. It is about treating them with respect. If more people followed this mindset, the world would be a different place. How often in life do we face a choice between revenge and forgiveness, between harshness and patience, between self-interest and compassion? How often do we choose anger instead of the patience and wisdom that define Saladin? His life reminds us that power is not about taking what you want, but about taking responsibility for those around you. That true leadership is not about ruling people, but about serving them. That the strongest person is not the one who wins battles, but the one who creates peace where others would destroy. His legacy is a call to all of us. Do not be led by anger or greed. Act with justice, with wisdom, and with a clear heart. For in the end, history does not remember who fought the most battles, but who made the right decisions in the most difficult moments. Which of Saladin's virtues impresses you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more wisdom from history's greatest leaders and thinkers.